Hey everyone, this is Cory Lee here at Discover. I'm the content manager, and today I am so excited to be talking with you all about accessibility in one of my favorite cities in the world, Barcelona, Spain. So I had the chance to visit Barcelona a few years ago and completely fell head over heels in love with the city. It's one of the most accessible cities in the entire world, I believe. So we definitely have a lot to talk about today and a lot of attractions to cover. We're going to talk about accessible beaches, transportation, and of course, accommodations, which you can find right here on Discover. So joining me today, I will be talking with Mirjam Versteegh. She is the owner of Disabled Accessible Travel. It's a tour company based in Barcelona, so she can handle all of your tour accommodations and needs if you just reach out to her. So everyone, please welcome Mirjam.
Hi.
Hey.
Good morning, good evening, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. Mirjam and I actually had the chance to meet up in person a couple of years ago in Amsterdam.
Very cold Amsterdam.
Very cold, but a lot of fun. It was a fun trip.
Yeah.
And so Mirjam, to start us out, can you tell us a little bit about you and your company?
Yes, of course. My name is Mirjam. I am the owner of Disabled Accessible Travel, and we are based from Barcelona, actually arranging accessible travel services throughout Europe. All our services, I like to say, are very personal and customized. So as not every customer is the same, we always try to customize it as much as we can to someone's needs and someone's questions, but also what people would like to see. And a lot of people like flexibility on their holidays, which is what I would like. And we always try to accommodate as much as we can. And in short, I always say we have 4 different types of services, meaning that our main focus is accessible tours and accessible shore excursions. Secondly, we arrange the adapted transports. So many people also like to explore the city or the port by themselves, and they would just like to have someone available to bring them from A to B and then again back from B to C. So we can arrange that as well. Or for people who are interested in mobility equipment rentals, we can assist with that if people prefer not to take their shower chair with there or not risk any damage during transport. We can assist in most locations to have something delivered on site. And what is interesting to know for Barcelona, if you're ever traveling on a cruise to Barcelona, that is in Barcelona specifically, we have Port Authority to deliver the mobility equipment in your cruise cabin. So as soon as you check in online, you will have the equipment waiting for you. That's very easy for people to start their holiday.
Yeah, that definitely makes the trip a lot easier when the equipment's already there. And so I know you mentioned that you actually, or Disabled Accessible Travel covers multiple European destinations. So just to give everyone an idea, can you maybe tell us about your top 3 or 5 destinations that Disabled Accessible Travel can help someone traveling?
Yeah, of course. Obviously Barcelona. I mean, I am native Dutch, as you can hear maybe by the accent. So I'm not Spanish. I don't look Spanish. But I'm living now in Barcelona for 9 years, and I simply love it. Simply love it. For many, many reasons. So we need more hours on this call to talk about that. But from the company started in Barcelona. It was founded in Barcelona already in 2004. And in the beginning, it only focused on, or it started actually with offering services for slow walkers and wheelchair users. And from that, we gradually continued to an operational scale, European scale. So Barcelona is actually one of our main destinations, simply because of its accessibility, which we will be talking about today. Secondly, I would like to say Italy. Italy is personal favorite is mine as well, because I got married there in Tuscany, but we have many people going to Rome or to Florence, which are amazing cities, not just for a day, but also if you want to spend a week, because it's got so much options in the surroundings. And another favorite destination actually is Athens. We see a lot of people wishing to see the Acropolis. So I think those are the top 3 where we help people arrange their holidays. Yes.
Awesome. I have not been to Italy or to Greece, so those are very, very high on my travel bucket list. And once this pandemic is over, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to finally do that Italy trip that we've talked about.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so much options. It's different as well. If you go from Rome and you can go to Florence or to Venice, and it's amazing. Napoli, it's fantastic. Yeah, and the food.
Oh yeah, the food. That's what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, but today we are going to be talking all about Barcelona. There is a lot to dive into because Barcelona offers so many accessible things to do and places to see. So I think we should just kind of dive right into it and get started. So I guess to start us out, since we are in a pandemic right now, a lot of people are wanting to do those outdoor experiences more than like indoor experiences. I would love to start out by asking you, what are some of the outdoor attractions or experiences that you would most recommend for visitors to Barcelona?
Yeah, well, the good thing about Barcelona is the weather. So the whole year round, I mean, it's always a cliche, but in this case, also very practical. So the whole year round, you can actually do things outdoor, and it's still not chilly, or, well, it's a bit chilly, but it's not all cold. Well, it can be cold, but not as much. So there's plenty of opportunity to just explore the city. What I always like to do for people who are visiting Barcelona for the first time is explore the Old Town. So the Old Town is the historical center where you find the cathedral, and it's a really different area of Barcelona. So Barcelona is actually, it's a city, of course, but I always find it quite relatively small. So it's very easy to get around, and each area is different. So if you go to the Old Town, you've got all these small alleys that I still get lost, that you can just explore. There's the cathedral, which you can see. There's the political center, Plaza del Pi. So that's a really nice area to just go for a walk or a roll. It's flat, maybe can be a bit hilly on occasions, but it's quite easy to do. So that's what I would recommend. Besides the Sagrada Familia, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, which is of course indoor. But in this case, if you want to do outdoor, we can also recommend Colonia Güell, which is also the crypt in Colonia Güell is created by Gaudí. So it's a small drive outside of Barcelona, about half an hour, where you have this whole village, which was once created for factory workers. So it has a school, it has a theater, a church, and which is the Gaudí crypt, which is the only one which is finished. But because it's a whole village, it's an outdoor experience. So you experience the entire village, which is also accessible by means of an audio guided tour or a guided tour if you would wish. So that's also a really nice experience to go out of the city, to be with less people, because less people know it as well, and less people explore it. So that's one I could really, really recommend if you have like a few hours to do. Another one, if you're more into nature, I can recommend is Montserrat. I'm not sure if you've been there yourself.
I did.
Yeah, you did. Ah, good. So the mountains of Montserrat.
Photo.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So that one is, if you go to the monastery, it's fully wheelchair accessible. You have amazing views. Well, not from there, but just a bit out there of the area, especially on a clear sky. I was just about to mention this. If you want to see the Moreneta, this lift can be a bit tricky. So knock on wood, we've always had luck, but it can be out of service on occasion. So that's the one thing you need to keep in mind. But the area itself is amazing. It's you've got views all over the cities. It's great to be in nature, and it's only about 45 minutes drive from Barcelona. So I can also really, really recommend that.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I mean the views from there are just like some of the best in the world. So absolutely stunning. And a couple other outdoor locations that I visited and wanted to talk about. I think the cable car is a really great experience. So you are enclosed inside the cable car, but otherwise, like it is mostly outdoors. Aside from that, and I'm assuming now do you know if they only allow one family per cable car?
To be honest, at the moment, I do not know, but I would not be surprised if that is the case or that they've stopped operating as a whole, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. But if you are able to do that, that is a really fun activity. And again, it has some really phenomenal views of the entire city from the cable car.
Yeah.
And also, one of the parks that I visited, you're going to have to help me out with the name of this. It's
Pedralbes.
Okay, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't have that accent. But But this park did have paths, as you can see in this photo, which were very smooth. It was fairly easy to get around the entire park. And just a really fun outdoor event. When I went, they actually had a music festival. So there were performers, there were like food trucks and all kinds of different food places. And we were able to have a picnic right there in the park. And it was just a really lovely afternoon of music and good food. So I think that's a really fun park. And always, you could check their events out on their website and see if any special events are going to be there when you are. And one last outdoor experience is La Rambla. So even just this is an avenue in Barcelona where there are numerous shops and restaurants. But even if you're not going to be going inside the shops and restaurants, it's really fun just to walk or roll on La Rambla and see, like, you could do people watching or just stroll along the avenue right there. And it's just one of the best areas in the city, I think.
Yeah. What's really nice about La Rambla is it starts at Plaza Catalunya, and when you go all the way south, sort of, you end up near the port. And whole La Rambla is flat, especially in the middle part. So I do advise to go a bit in the early morning, so you have a bit less people.
Right.
But when you are in Barcelona, it's always worthwhile just to go there and see it, have a drink. Indeed, people watch. Yeah, it's very typical.
Yeah, I love just like going there and getting some sangria and just like drinking on a patio, and it's the best. I'm ready to come back.
What's also really nice is, in addition to the Pedralbes Park, which you just mentioned, because the Pedralbes Park is quite local. I mean, not many tourists or too many tourists go there just yet. So that's why it's a really good experience. And for people who want to stay within the center, I can also recommend Ciutadella. So the park Ciutadella, which is also really, really charming.
Awesome. Yeah, good to hear. And another really good outdoor activity, I would love to spend some time talking about the beaches. I think Barcelona has the most accessible beaches in the world. So can you describe the accessibility of those beaches and maybe a couple of your beach recommendations?
Yeah. In total, Barcelona, if I remember correctly, about 8-9 beaches, and they're all lined up basically on the side. So it's one big boulevard, which is also fully accessible. So you can basically go all the way from the La Bella Hotel, so the big W Hotel, all the way up to the Forum. And in the areas in between are all split in beaches. And the most famous one, or the most well-known one, let me put it that way, is Nova Icaria, which is a bit in the middle. So, yeah. And there, just like other beaches as well, it depends a bit, they have the assisted bathing services, meaning that there are usually about 2 or 3 amphibious chairs, which are the ones that you see there. The wooden ramps to the water. There are accessible toilets and accessible shower facilities in general, depending on what beach you are. And most important, what you need to remember is that there's the Red Cross service, and they are operative not all year round. So you need to make sure that before you head over to the beach, check out the beach that you're going to and check out when the Red Cross is available for you to help. So because I'm Dutch, so for me, April and May is like a really good month to go to the beach. But for Spanish, it's still too cold, so there's no one there. But it means the Red Cross is also not there. So it starts a bit normally around June and July.
Okay.
And then normally you can just go there and enjoy the beach and ask for their assistance. During COVID, they did require you to make an appointment. So you would need to check how that evolves later on this year. But the beaches are amazing. The facilities are amazing. There are shades, how do you call it, covers for the shade.
Yeah.
So Nova Icaria is one of the best beaches, and I can also recommend Barceloneta. That's another one. Okay. On our website, actually, we have a blog where you can see how to get there and the opening hours of each of the Red Cross facilities for each beach.
Oh, cool. And how can someone access that blog? Do you know the website?
Yeah, it's our own website. So disabledaccessibletravel.com, and there you see one header which is set blog, and under there you look for Barcelona beaches, and there we've listed about 5 or 6.
Perfect. Yeah, I loved the beach. I went to the Nova Icaria beach. Yeah. They even had like the hoists and like lifts, so they could actually hoist you out of your wheelchair and put you into the beach wheelchair. Yeah. And then the beach wheelchair could get you in the water. I mean, that's something that in the US, we do not see anywhere. I've never seen that at a beach. the hoist right there at the beach. So that was incredible. And that is really what made me fall so in love with Barcelona. I think it's just like that level of accessibility to be right there at the beach and have like a fully inclusive experience is unfound anywhere else in the world, I believe. So, you know, if you can visit Barcelona in the summer, when the beaches are open and fully operating, definitely take advantage of that and do it.
Yeah, and even in winter, because the whole boulevard is really nice to explore and be at the sea and the sea area. Yeah. But in summer, it's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, throughout Spain, you find a lot of these amphibious chairs on the most common beaches. So that's also good to know.
Yeah, very good. And now that we've kind of talked about a lot of the outdoor experiences, what indoor experiences would you recommend? I know that you mentioned the Sagrada Familia. So maybe we can start from there, and then any other attractions that you'd recommend also.
Yeah, well, we cannot have this conversation without talking about Sagrada Familia.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is a very touristic site, but it's also very, it's beautiful. I say to people, just don't immediately go in, but also have a look outside. Just make sure you make a walk or roll just around the area as well and see the building from the outside, because each side is different. And indeed, what you see here in the picture that you have, because Barcelona is lucky enough to have very, very sunny days, but I say the colored glass makes when you're inside, the light is amazing. The light is seriously amazing. So inside it is accessible by me. It's flat inside. So they have some ramps, which on occasion can be a bit steep, but they have some ramps. There's also an accessible toilet. The main thing I can say is make sure you book your entrances in advance. Some people have luck and they just show up there and they can enter. Basically, then you're lucky depending on who's there, but make sure you book your tickets in advance. And also good to know if you are in Barcelona or, for that matter of fact, in Spain, that most wheelchair users can get either free access or discounted access. And it even includes a companion. So that's also really what Barcelona does about accessibility. They really make it quite accessible what that's concerned as well. And the Sagrada Familia is amazing. I seriously advise you to, or anyone visiting Barcelona, to include it on your list.
I mean, it's the #1 must do, I think. I mean, I remember like as soon as I rolled into the Sagrada Familia, I mean, it's just like overwhelming, the beauty of it. So incredible. And I also wanted to quickly mention Sylvia is watching. And so,
Sylvia. Oh, we still have that New York thing pending. She's going to Spain. Yeah.
My mom also, like you said, she would be the first one to join.
Nice. Hi, Sandy. Hope you're well.
She's talking about the food. We always say that Spain has the best food in the world. We love it.
Yeah, it's quite underrated actually, but it is actually really good if you know where to go.
That's so good.
And the wines as well.
Yeah. And so aside from the Sagrada Familia, what other indoor experiences do you really love?
If you are into museums, I can also recommend the museums. There are a lot, there are many. So we spoke about maybe the Pedrera, that's another Gaudi architecture, of course, which is also an amazing building to visit. They have an elevator to access to, an elevator to access to the various levels, which can be quite small. So that is something to keep in mind before you go. But it's a beautiful building as well, and the same applies. Also make sure you book your tickets in advance. What I also would like to say is the museums such as the Miro Museum in Montjuic or the Picasso Museum in the Old Town. So if you're in the Old Town, it's also a good starting point to either have a coffee from there or have a drink afterwards. That's also what I can recommend. Something that people often miss is Casa Vicent, which is more in the Gracia area, a bit up north. It's new. I think it opened up about 2-3 years ago, and it's one of the first architectural pieces of Gaudi. So it's built as a residential house, and now of course it's a museum. But I can also recommend that. It will be less crowded as well than the other Gaudi architecture. So these days it might also be an idea to start there.
Yeah, very cool. And one other place I wanted to quickly mention is the Hospital de Sant Pau.
Yeah,
this is a photo of the exterior. It's stunning, and it actually is an old hospital. So You can even see like the hospital beds right there in this photo from the interior, and you can wander like the hospital halls, and it's just like the most beautiful hospital I've ever seen. Though, do you know anything about it? Can you talk about it for a minute?
Actually, when we first moved to Barcelona, this just opened up. So I think we were the first week it opened, we were there, and then it was still not the same route as it is now. But yes, it's not an operational hospital, because people tend to think that, but it's not the case. But you see how it used to be. So you see the different areas. You also see the beautiful gardens, which are from the outside, and you can see how the rooms or the hospital wards were in the past with the beddings that you just saw. And it's a beautiful building. It's also fully accessible as well. With if you go downstairs and then you go to the gardens and a tour around, and it's very new. So people are now discovering it. To be honest, in the beginning it was really something nobody knew about. We always went there. So again, make your reservations in advance. Highly recommendable. Highly recommendable. Yeah,
and it's actually very large. So I spent a couple hours there just like wandering around, and you could even spend longer, I think. I mean, it's a huge property. I mean, definitely plan at least a couple hours if you're going to be exploring that place. Yeah,
and the garden as well. Just sit there and bring some of your own food and just have it and just
And they even had a restaurant there on site also, which I ate at, and it was very good. So you could make like a half-day adventure of the entire Hospital de Sant Pau, and it's beautiful.
Because it's close to Sagrada Familia as well. It's only like one block, so it's very easy to combine the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so when you've had the bustle of the Sagrada Familia, then you get some quiet in the hospital.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds like a perfect day to me.
Yeah. And another thing what may be nice for people who are into food, because we've got many people who are into food, is, and of course Barcelona is also about tapas. You can do a tapas tour. So then we avoid a bit the touristic areas. But then you go for the starter, we go to one accessible restaurant, including accessible toilet. Then you go for the main to another restaurant. Well, when the guide tells you a bit about the culture, about the food. Nice. So it's also something really nice. Yeah.
That sounds fun. Yeah. I love that. And another experience that's a bit outside of Barcelona is hot air ballooning. So you can go hot air ballooning for the perfect outdoor activity. And a company called Val de Coloms is in Santa Pau, and it's about an hour and 40-minute drive outside of Barcelona. So they do have an adapted basket there. So as you can see, the door opens up on the basket, and then there is a seat inside the basket which you can actually sit in, and there's a remote control, so the seat can actually raise up and down to give you a very good view over the basket. So it can be a little tricky to actually get through that narrow doorway and into the basket, but if you use like a sling or something like that to be carried in, then it's a really wonderful activity to go to hot air ballooning in Spain. And we flew over like volcanoes and everything. I mean, it was one of my most memorable travel experiences of all time. So I think that's definitely a must-do for everyone that's going to be visiting the Barcelona area.
You need to keep in mind that they do this early morning.
Yeah,
so
very
early.
Driver
always kills me because it's like really, really early morning.
Yeah.
So it's if you're in Barcelona, you need to take into account like 1 hour, 30, 45 minutes indeed. And they usually start around 7 in the morning, 7 a.m. So you can calculate what time you need to be up.
Yeah, I think I was waking up at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. I mean, it's very early, but it is worth it. Yeah. I promise you. And once the hot air ballooning is, so you go hot air ballooning for like a couple hours, and then when it's over with, you actually have a meal. And so they serve breakfast and like champagne, and it's such a fun experience. And so it's definitely worth it. I know it's early, but it's a must do.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Yeah.
And so once someone is actually in Barcelona, the first place they're probably going to be going to is their accommodations, a hotel. And I would love to talk about 2 accommodations in Barcelona that are featured on Hondiscover. So the first one is the Hotel Arc La Rambla. So right there is the lobby, as you can see. And the Hotel Arc La Rambla is located between two of the most characteristic avenues in Barcelona, the Rambla and Paseo Marítimo, and the touristic and historic area. There's also a shopping area, and the subway is only about 200 meters away. So it's a good location, very nicely designed. And the second hotel that I would love to tell everyone about is the Roommate Gerard. So right there is the exterior, and the Roommate Gerard is a boutique hotel located right in the heart of Barcelona. It stands out for its decor, which uses neutral tones to create a warm, sophisticated, and a bit of an elegant atmosphere. And it's, again, right in the heart of Barcelona near La Rambla, so only a 5-minute walk from like the historic Gothic corridor, which has all the shops and restaurants. So again, it sounds like it's in a very, very good area. And again, this is the Roommate Gerard. And so Mirjam, do you know anything about the area that these hotels are featured in?
Yeah, both are centrally located. So indeed, as the Roommate Hotel that you just mentioned, that's near the more near Plaza Catalunya and between the Arc de Triunfo. So from there, it's a really good area to explore, because we always say to people, if you're going to go staying in Barcelona, stay near Plaza Catalunya, because it allows you to explore the city without depending on, well, public transport or taxis, etc. So both are really, really well situated. And if the one on the Rambla is a bit more down south. So the Rambla is quite long. People think it's like a street, but it's seriously, I think, about 2 or 3 kilometers. So it takes you some time to go up again to Plaza Catalunya. But then you're more closer to the port area, which is also quite handy. So both locations are really, really good if you want to explore the city from there.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think, whenever I'm booking a hotel, it's all about the location, because I want to be able to just, go outside of the hotel and just roll to all or most of the attractions anyway that I want to visit. So I think it's a lot better than having to rely on transportation. But that brings us into transportation. Barcelona does have some very accessible transportation. And can we spend a bit talking about it? I know there are quite a few transportation options. There are taxis, the metro, subway, and buses. So can you, since you're a local and know a lot more about transportation in Barcelona than I do, can you tell us what all people can expect when they're visiting?
Yeah. For most people, actually, the public transport in Barcelona, if we start with buses and metros, they are both fully accessible, with a bit of additional information about both. So this is the bus. All buses are 100% wheelchair accessible. So if you see the button there on the side, basically, if you stand at the bus stop and you see the bus that you want coming, or the line that you want coming, you just raise your hand and the bus stops and you press the blue button, the ramp folds out, and then right there where you see the lady standing with the long hair, that's basically the wheelchair designated area to stay in. So this works really, really well. No need to reserve. Just take the bus which you want, and then it takes you where you want to go. The metro also works really, really well. It's quite easy to enter because of the lowered area. Some still have a bit of a gap, but it's fairly doable, I always say. There's one big but about the metro, and that is that although I think about 90% of the metro stops are accessible, not all are. So you need to make sure that you find a metro stop which has an accessible elevator.
Yeah.
And we are still in Spain. Not all elevators always work.
Yeah.
So that is the one downside. So we have an accessible metro map as well in one of our blogs, because we get a lot of information about how does it work, and do I need to buy a ticket, and where do I buy a ticket. So you can use one ticket, which is called a T10. Oh no, I changed the name, by the way. I can't remember now the right name, but I still refer to it as a T10, which is like this paper thing, and you can use it on both the metro and the bus.
Oh, nice.
And you can use it as a family as well, so it's no need for you to have a ticket and for us to have a ticket. But make sure you have one in advance. So don't go to the bus driver and ask him for a ticket. So if he's nice, he will make you you need to have your euros, preferably in cash and not in coins and not in notes. So make sure you have these tickets beforehand. but it works very well, very, very well. So the buses are very easy to get around, and so are the metros.
Yeah, I mean, I found the public transportation spectacular. I mean, fully accessible. The metro, everywhere that I used it and needed to go, it was accessible, but, you know, definitely research that in advance. And it was also very smooth to get on there. As you can see in the photo, there was a tiny bit of a lip, but not bad at all. My powered wheelchair handled it perfectly. Yeah. So the public transportation in Barcelona is spectacular, I think.
Yeah. This is also one of the reasons why we always say or advise stay, if you can, close to Plaza Catalunya, because from there you have so many metro stops and bus stops, so you can explore the city either walking, rolling, or take a public transport for wherever you want to go.
Right, exactly. And then if someone, you know, doesn't want to fool with the public transportation, there are also accessible taxis in the city.
Yeah, we have. That's one thing that people, like in most countries, you just hail a taxi by the street or at the street. There's one thing in Barcelona that you need to remember is that there are no adapted taxis waiting at the taxi stand. So that includes the airport, that includes the cruise port, and that includes the Station Sans. Indeed, this is one of the. This is the. You see the ramp in the back. So most taxis, they come in different sizes. They come in different sizes and different car configurations. So not all taxis have the same size or ramp width. So we always need to know what are the sizes of your wheelchair to make sure we send the right vehicle to avoid any issues upon arrival. But indeed, this is the one thing that you need to book in advance. These are also taxis which are used on a local basis, so by the residencias or by local people. So also don't make like an hour before reservation. We always advise to book in advance as much as you can to assure availability.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, anything I think that you can book in advance, definitely do it, because then when you're actually in the destination, you don't have to worry about anything. So you can fully enjoy the destination. And that's also why it's a good thing to book with a company like yours, Disabled Accessible Travel, because you guys actually handle all of the booking process to, you know, alleviate the traveler from all of that stress that comes with booking. So I would definitely recommend using a tour company. And any destination, I always find that it's much more enjoyable when I do use a tour company. So Disabled Accessible Travel would definitely be a good option.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so why, in your opinion, is Barcelona a great place to visit when planning a getaway? If you had to like sum it up in a few sentences, why do you think it's such a spectacular city?
What I find about Barcelona, I really enjoy the fact that I always say to people, just make sure you can just be. So make sure you don't have like one days and start running, rolling around. But it's a really good city to be, people watch, and it's got something for everyone. Like we said, we spoke about Gaudí, we spoke about Sagrada Familia. If you're more into football, you can go to a visit to Camp Nou, you can do a football match. If you're more into beaches, we have the beaches. Yeah. Nature is only a short drive away. You can have an independent holiday without being relying on companies or taxis. You can really explore by yourself. Yeah. And because of the great accessibility, it's also a really good destination for people who go to Europe for the first time. For instance, we've got many people who've never been to Europe and they are a bit scared or worried. So they always reach out, and then they've heard about Barcelona and its great accessibility. And it's a really good starting point, because once you've experienced that, then it opens up the rest of Europe as well, because you've made that first step, and then you can explore the rest of the world. Plus in Barcelona, the fact that even when they create buildings, always accessibility is in people's minds. So it's not something that they create later on. But everything which is now new or which is now newly created or refurbished is also created with accessibility in mind. Yeah. So it's
exactly.
It's like really access to all, basically, which is what they try to do. They're not perfect, I mean, but the mindset is certainly there. And as you've experienced,
I love what you said about Barcelona having something for every traveler, because it is such a diverse destination. So I mean, as you said, there are accessible beaches, accessible museums. The architecture is stunning to look at, and even accessible adventurous activities like hot air ballooning. So Barcelona really offers something for every type of traveler. I fully believe that. So absolutely. And another question, what all is Barcelona doing to improve or showcase accessibility overall? Are there any like unique initiatives that you would love to talk about? I know that you mentioned that all of the new buildings are built to be accessible, but is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Well, I think that is the most important thing, actually, because what we see in Europe as a whole is that, especially in the old centers, that the buildings and the architecture is either narrow or small doors, always a step to enter, and then inside it's also quite narrow. And what Barcelona is now basically enforcing is, as soon as I see it now over the years, as soon as you have new establishments or establishments which are refurbishing, they always need to make it fully accessible. Right. And that is something I have not seen much throughout Europe, to be honest. So I literally see the city around me and the places where I go evolving from being not accessible to suddenly having a wide door and a ramp or a lift, etc. And that is what I find really surprising in a very positive way about Barcelona.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think accessibility is constantly improving. And I always tell everyone, even if somewhere is not accessible today, like 5 years from now, recheck it and it may be accessible then. So accessibility is improving. It may be improving very slowly at times, it seems like, but it is constantly getting better, I believe.
Yeah. Plus what I also find, if I may say, is that, like I said in the beginning, we do a lot of tours and shore excursions, which is basically our main focus. And I noticed at some point, throughout Europe, and I noticed at some point that people were not so worried about their tour or their shore excursion, how that was going to go. And they were like, Mirjam, I need to go to the toilet. Where can I go to the toilet? Yeah. And I was like, well, in Italy, there are some toilets. In Rome, the guide obviously knows the toilets. So we also focused on that area, which is also really good for Barcelona. Yeah. Because what we have, well, let me say it this way. If I get a question a lot of times, it means there's an information gap. Right. And if people start to worry, not about how their tour is going to go and what they're going to see, but about where they're going to go to the toilet during an 8-hour tour, that means that there's an issue that we need to solve. So we were looking more into accessible toilet locations and also advising our guides to make sure that you can find it. So we also created an app, Accessilu, which is basically user generated, and it shows information by users and for users where they can find accessible toilets. So including pictures, including the facilities, reviews. It's like a TripAdvisor for accessible toilets. And for Barcelona, we have mapped it because, like I said, in the beginning, maybe 7 or 5 years ago, there were not so many accessible toilets as there are now. So I started mapping those toilets in the app for people to find their way. So you're not always stuck with like the big establishments if you want to go out for a nice tapa, but also go to the places where I like to go. Right. And so I really advise people to download the app and do your thing and help the community and start loading yourself as well. But we have really mapped Barcelona for the Accessilus.
Yeah, but it's not only accessible to toilets in Barcelona, it's actually all over Europe. So it's a phenomenal resource. If you're going to be in Europe, or is it all over the world, or it's strictly Europe based?
No, it's not European based. It's a worldwide app, but we rely on users to help it fill. So my motto is, imagine if everyone who sees this viewing would only add one toilet. Imagine it's a resource basically for people, not only for traveling, but also if you want to have a coffee, basic day-to-day life. Because if you can't go to the toilet, I mean, everybody knows it now. Everything is closed, so everybody who's able-bodied cannot go to the toilet either. Yeah. And now everybody's starting to worry about where can I go to the toilet. I'm like, well, that's the issue that many people have, normally, which is not supposed to be that way. And that is when we figured, well, we can do it two ways. We can have like databases, or we can do it more slowly, but actually with good data. So people all over the world can upload it. But Europe is quite good mapped indeed. And so we still miss some people in the US. So we need some people in the US, but all over Europe, it's every day we see more toilets being added, which is really, really good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to know. And again, everyone watching, the app is called Accessilu. So
Accessilu,
It's one word, altogether, one word, Accessilu. So look it up. Definitely download it and add some accessible toilets to help everyone out, really. So
we can start a movement.
Yeah. And I guess my last question is, if you could only recommend 3 activities or attractions or experiences in Barcelona, which 3 would you recommend for a first-time visitor?
For a first-time visit, what I always say to people, and this would be a tour, but if people are for a first-time visit, I say start out with a city tour with transport. Yeah. Why? Because this way you see the sites which are a bit further out. It's a very comfortable way to see the city. Plus, you get a feel for the layout of the city, because it's a very friendly city. It's quite small, but in a way it is of course a large city. So you know the area where you want to be, you know the sites, you can see the sites, etc. And then base the rest of your trip from there. So that's what I would recommend. The Sagrada Familia, we spoke about it, so we're not going to repeat that, but I highly recommend the Sagrada Familia. I would advise the Ciutadella Park on a Sunday, which is more city center, but it's basically where you find the locals on a Sundays, having dinner, having food, having drinks, making music. So it's like a local garden. It's really a nice place to just have a drink and people watch. The Boqueria, I would say, because it's a typical Spanish market, with one but, make sure you go in the morning. So and if you enter, just try to enter on the side rather than from the front. So it's very crowded, but it's an experience in itself with all the little stores and fruit displays and fish and meat. It's also really, really nice.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I actually went to the market, and it is a phenomenal market. So they have so many different foods to enjoy.
You don't know where to look.
I know, it's overwhelming for sure, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And I guess if I were to answer the same question, and I can only recommend 3 things for someone to do, the top of my list would probably be the beach. If you're there on a nice day, the beach is the most accessible in the world. Definitely the most accessible I've ever seen anyway. So the beach is phenomenal. Sagrada Familia, just like you said, Mirjam. And then if you have the time, I would say to definitely go hot air ballooning in Santa Pau. So it is a little under a 2-hour drive away from Barcelona, but it is I promise you it will be one of the most memorable travel experiences that you will ever have. So it's definitely worth the drive and the early wake up call. So those will probably be my top 3. But Mirjam, is there anything else you want to add about Barcelona? And can you tell everyone where they can find out more information about your company?
Yeah, of course. Well, basically the company name, we're called Disabled Accessible Travel. So the website is www.disabledaccessibletravel.com. My name is Mirjam, and we try to customize as much as possible. We always say it's personal and it's accessible. We have many travelers who keep coming back for years. My husband even knows them. They know my husband. So that says enough. And we try to make your holiday as much as you want your holiday to be. So we try not to be stuck in fixed packages, but always try to accommodate as much as we can, as that is how I would like to travel.
Me too.
Exactly. And we try to relate it to our travelers as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I know your company is one of the biggest in the accessible travel space. So you guys are definitely doing something correctly and doing a phenomenal job. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate this time, and hopefully everyone is wanting to plan a trip now to Barcelona. It's really an incredible city. So
thank you, thank you, Cory. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Bye.
And thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you, again, have any questions about Barcelona, feel free to leave a comment on this video, and Mirjam or myself will do our best to come back and answer your questions and comments. And we will see you again in a few weeks for another Facebook Live video all about a different destination. More info will be coming out soon, but for now, definitely check out hondiscover.com for all of your accessible accommodation needs whenever you're traveling. So Thank you all and have a great rest of your week. Bye.